All right, so to close it out, Jay, the New York Knicks, who have been involved in a coaching search for quite some time, some would say even longer than that, are apparently finalizing or have perhaps finalized a 5-year deal with former Bulls and T-Wolves coach Tom Thibodeau to make him the franchise's next head coach. Knicks president Leon Rose and agent Spencer Brecker of CAA Sports were working this past Saturday to complete contractual terms, and a signed agreement is expected in the near future. So it's about 98% complete that Tibbs will be the next coach of the New York Knicks. So, Jay, what are your initial thoughts about Tibbs as a Knicks coach? Is that a sigh?
It was. I don't know. I really don't know how I can answer that. Do I think Thibodeau is a good hire? Yes. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a great defensive coach. Let me turn that off. I think he's great in that at the same time, we've kind of seen this rodeo with young talent with him. It doesn't really work out very well. I mean, he was in Minnesota, and he had a lot of power in Minnesota. He was an assistant for the Knicks for 8 years, 96 to 04. And he was the top assistant in Boston, 07 to 10, won the championship. He kept basically architect their defense with Kevin Garnett. And so, he was head coach of the Bulls, and he was head coach of the Timberwolves.
Yes.
He drives players into the ground. He grinds them out.
Yes, he does.
And the problem you run into is I don't know if I trust Leon Rose yet when it comes to drafting or acquiring talent. We don't know what his capabilities are as of yet. And if he can't churn and burn the right kind of guys in there for Thibodeau, it's going to be a failed experiment. What you think? I
think that his number one job, I understand that I think he's a good coach. He's got about a 58% win percentage. To me, that means you're a good coach.
Yeah, he's solid.
He knows
X's
and O's.
overall.
Yeah, he knows X's and O's. He really knows defense, like you just talked about. But I think that what's more important than even him coaching the X's and O's of the game, is to create an atmosphere that will attract free agents, especially with someone who's known as like the worst owner in probably all of sports next to Dan Snyder, James Dolan, to have that stench, that aura sort of hanging over the organization. Yeah, all of it goes to Dolan. Yeah. So he's going to have to work against that in order to attract free agents. I mean, which shouldn't be a problem at all in the Big Apple, in New York, the Knicks, historic franchise. But part of what he's going to have to do to attract free agents, especially since players talk throughout the season of every team, they're all friends, they all, get along for the most part, is he reminds me of another New York coach, Tom Coughlin, who coached the New York Football Giants to 2 Super Bowls, and what his reputation and coaching style was like before he relaxed it. He was known as being a player who was old, rigid, running players into the ground in practice, somebody who you didn't want to be around, somebody who you didn't want to play for. And then when he relaxed that, when he listened to his veteran players and relaxed his coaching style, that's when they really played hard for him.
That's when they responded.
That's when they responded, and that's when they won 2 championships. So in order to attract free agents, he's got to relax his coaching style. He's got to do everything he can because, again, James Dolan has created such a negative aura around this organization, given that they're in New York, that despite the fact that they're in New York, they can't attract free agents, and that's what you have got to have in the NBA. It doesn't matter how good of a actual basketball coach you are. You've got to be able to attract stars and superstars. They should be able to do that in New York, and they haven't been because of Dolan. So Tibbs has got to do what he has to do as much as he can do to get them there.
So do you think in his 8 years of being a head coach / general manager that he has created this perception that players would want to come, or this aura around him that would attract players to come play for him?
I don't think so.
So this is a bad hire then. Because if you really think about it, that's the thing. Like you said, the whole purpose of them hiring them is they have the stench of Dolan overseeing everything. Even though Leon Rose has come in as a former agent, that doesn't guarantee players are going to follow him there due to them being in New York under Dolan. So now you have Thibodeau. And you have, to me, the problem we're going to see is who wants to come play for Tibbs? Because nobody did in Minnesota. Chicago, That was his first rodeo. He was riding high off Boston. So Chicago was kind of a mixed feeling. But I don't recall anybody in Minnesota really just breaking their neck to get up there and play.
No, because, Jimmy Butler spent that part of that season there, right?
Yeah, he got traded there. Yeah. He traded for him.
Right.
From Chicago.
And he couldn't wait to get himself out. Matter of fact, wasn't that the team he was on where he basically cursed out the GM in practice in front of everybody and just created this fiasco that I bashed him for, but it was all part of his plan to get himself out of there to Philly. Now he's in Miami where he's happy.
And I don't know if you noticed, but everywhere that Jimmy Butler had issues, he was right. He had issues in Chicago. He complained that the young players didn't work hard and they didn't try. He got traded to Minnesota.
See, that's the thing. He got
there. He pointed out how Andrew Wiggins is way more talented than him, but for some reason can't stop him. He's like, dude, you and Cat. He took a team of third stringers in that practice and he didn't score a single point either. That's the crazy part. Jimmy didn't score a single point, and the third stringers won against Cat and Andrew Wiggins. Basically, he pointed out about all these young players that you're only here for the flash. You're not here for the work. And I don't want to be around that. And honestly, he was right each time because both teams have been booty cheeks ever since.
Yeah, I remember we talked a lot about that. A lot of what he was saying was true. I remember I think I did a solo show. It was called "Everything's a Nail to a Butler."
Yep.
In the sense of you got to be more of a psychologist than that. In order to get the most out of people, you have to understand how people respond differently to different messages. And to me, this is part of maybe what Tibbs needs to understand as well, that you cannot grind every player into the ground.
Yep.
You just can't do that. You can't be successful that way.
You can. I mean, he kind of ruined Derrick Rose's career. Derrick Rose was not a guy that needed to be grinded like a Rajon Rondo.
So
Rondo was a defensive guy.
He doesn't know how to treat stars like stars.
Exactly.
That's part of the problem.
And that's because he doesn't do the hierarchy, I don't feel like, when it comes to players. To him, players are players. And I respect that, but at the same time, you have to understand who is your bread and butter. Well, who's the one paying your actual bills? Who's the one keeping you employed?
When you win, you can get away with that. Because Popovich has gotten away with treating Tim Duncan like the 12th man off the bench. But that's because he's won. That's because he's had the opportunity. And I remember us having a conversation about Brad Stevens in regards to this, being able to homegrow a star. That way, when you really go at them in that way, you kind of have the leeway to do that because you sort of raised them, in a sense, in that organization.
I can see that, but the problem is the difference in comparison when you come with a Tibbs and a Popovich is Popovich's players love him. Like, they adore him outside of practice. They know that he's going to be a hard practice person, but at the same time, he also does very well with minutes restrictions. And he does a good job of actually, quote unquote, load managing people. Yeah. Whereas Tibbs was having Derrick Rose play 42 minutes in a game and they're winning by 30.
Here's what I don't get. Here's what I don't understand at all. Just talking about this. If you have the example of Greg Popovich and some of the intricacies of what he did to build a championship team there in San Antonio, you have all these years of books of Phil Jackson and his coaching methodology, and all these other guys have been successful. If you're an NBA coach, how do you not incorporate that? How do you allow yourself to have the reputation that Thibodeau has when you have all this data, all these examples of being able to shape yourself into the kind of coach that guys want to play for, that the team will be successful, and that you can attract free agents because they enjoy being around you both on and off the court? Like, how can everything continue to be a nail to Tibbs if it's not working? If it has not worked, will he learn? Is it going to be different this time around?
He has to be. He has R.J. Barrett. Now, that's his star.
Right.
I was talking to my buddy Frank about this, and he posed the question, did I think that Tibbs was going to try to make a trade for Donovan Mitchell? Because you know that there's a little beef between Mitchell and Rudy Gobert or whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
With everything that happened on with the virus and everybody getting sick. And I told him, I was like, of course, it's not a bad idea for New York to go after Donovan Mitchell because, I mean, he's Donovan Mitchell. But the problem is that you can only do that with incompetent front offices. Utah has proven they have a very competent front office. So being that they know they have Donovan Mitchell locked up for at least 8 seasons, so that means 5 more years from now, they're not giving him up. The only player that I think that he could go after would be a Devin Booker.
What about Zach LaVine in Chicago?
That might be another one. They may go ahead and give up on that experiment because he traded LaVine to Chicago, didn't he?
Yes, that's how he got Jimmy Butler, right?
Yeah.
So it would all come full circle.
Circle. He gets Levine right back.
Right.
Which would be worth it, even though Levine's just coming off an ACL tear, so that would actually be really bad for his defensive strategy.
Yeah, probably. Well, he's been good on offense this season, 23, 24 points a game. So, so his offensive game is back.
You put him out there with R.J. Barrett, well, the question is, who would the Knicks even trade? That's a good breakdown to try to figure out who would they get rid of, because they've got Barrett, they got Knox. They've got
Julius Randle as well. He was their big free agent pickup.
Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson is a good center.
Yeah.
They're decent. He's emerging, I think. Frank Ntilikina, who just has not worked the way they want him to.
At all. So, yeah. So, that's a good question. So
you never know how the lottery balls may fall. They might actually end up with
LaMelo Ball.
LaMelo Ball, RJ Hampton, somebody like that.
The ball falls with the ball with, LaMelo and RJ. Actually, would be
that could work.
That could
LaMelo
work.
seems very New York. Like he could embrace. He's got the persona, the charisma to really embrace that New York market.
He's a ball, of course, and he's 6'7", with ridiculous range, passing ability, vision. Yeah, it's gonna be.
They're probably gonna get screwed again because they were supposed to get Zion Williamson too, and we saw how that turned out.
Valid point. Guess who's gonna get him? It's gonna be Golden State.
Right.
All right, Jimmy. What's on the editing room floor?
All right. Well, I will tell you, Jay. Editing room floor. All right, so the NBA kicks off its restart officially this Thursday. 2 headlining games. You have the Jazz versus the Pelicans and the Lakers versus the Clippers. How excited are you for that?
Oh, I'm very excited. That Clippers-Lakers game is going to be pretty good. Sucks no LouWill, but
pick a winner. Pepper. Pick a winner each game. LemonPepper.
Lakers and Pelicans.
I'm going to take Jazz and Lakers. I'm going to take Jazz because Gobert's going to drop 50 points. You know why?
Why?
Because nobody's going to want to be around him.
Defensive player of the year, baby. What's up?
Yep. Next. All right. So everybody's putting out lists, Jay, of NFL lists. Top players, top 100 ESPN, top players at every position. The NFL Network, top 100. Sporting News, top 100.
So Jimmy, because of all these lists, do you think everybody's already blown their entire load for this for this entire pandemic? I mean, why would you put out these lists now?
I have no idea.
You kind of need, but I mean, I get it. You gotta have some content to talk about. I mean, we probably, we took a month off, so
you're saying maybe they should have released this earlier because now there's content. You have MLB, NBA, NFL's gonna be starting up soon, so they probably should about 2 months ago.
Yeah,
maybe they should have done it then.
Well, no, this is the perfect time.
No,
because we're trying to see if we're going to football season.
Yeah. Now, are there any of these lists that you actually look into each year they come out? No, not even because I do watch the NFL Network Top 100 because the players vote on that and talk about that. So to me that's one of the most respectable lists.
I have to look at that one this year.
See who gets snubbed. That's actually some good content for us. Honestly,
that's true.
Yep,
that's true. Is that it?
See if Dak is off the 100 again. That's it.
Hilarious. All right,
he was last year. As the player, they just don't respect him.
I don't know why, but
I don't either.
Anyway. We appreciate y'all joining us as usual here on Unfair. Make sure you check us out on our website, frozen.me, as well as with our affiliates, WMQGradio.com, and wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. So for Bob, Mike, and Wendy, thank you so much for hooking it up. Mike, you should have make sure you charged the battery, but whatever. And for my co-host Jimmy, his solo show will be up this week, and he has an article that I will have posted right first thing in the morning with this episode. So check us out on our YouTube page. Please share, because sharing is caring, and we'll chop it up in a couple days.
Peace.